Today we got an insight into what a government looks like when it's spending so much that it runs out of your money. And we learned today exactly how this disastrous Albonomics works. It apparently goes like this. You spend so much that Australians get hurt, and then you spend even more to make them feel better. And you repeat until inflation explodes again, interest rates rise, and we face a decade of deficits to come. Now, let me give an example of this Albonomics from just today. Chris Bowen, the Energy and Climate Change Minister, he's explaining how he is actually helping you deal with these power prices that are going way up and not down as it promised.
The Prime Minister promised that Labor Energy Plan would reduce household electricity bills by $275 per year by 2025. Minister, why has this not happened, and will you apologise?
I note that in his electorate, 1,128 Flynn households have introduced a cheaper home battery under our policy and have reduced their energy bill by 90% or more, and in many cases have reduced their bill to nothing.
Never mind that the power price is going up, have a battery at reduced prices. Well, they're reduced prices because other taxpayers, you and me, are forced to subsidise them at enormous cost. In fact, the cost of Bowen's battery program has blown out by about $5 billion. That's Albonomics for you. Now, the Prime Minister himself today explained this Albonomics perfectly. He was asked if he took responsibility for the interest rate rise yesterday by spending, of course, so much that inflation is again going up and interest rates have to try and knock it down. Albanese didn't answer that question at all. He's just boasted that he was offering more handouts now to ease the pain.
We know that Australians are still doing it tough, and we know that cost of living pressures are real, but that's why we have measures to actually address cost of living pressures.
And then Albanese rattled through a list of these taxpayer-funded bandages he's now handing out, including these.
Making medicines cheaper, which we did on the 1st of January, investing in more bulk billing and urgent care clinics, which we are doing, cutting student debt by 20%, opposed by those opposite, paid prac and $10,000 incentives for people to do apprenticeships in construction or in energy, and of course free TAFE.
Now, of course, you're going to have to pay for all these handouts. And at some stage, of course, the money must run out. In fact, it's running out already. And we saw that too today. Treasurer Jim Chalmers refused to deny reports that is now looking at cutting back on the 50% capital gains tax on property. Meanwhile, the Defence Minister today announced that the government would flog off 67 properties, buildings and land worth $3 billion. All stuff that's owned by the Defence Force that the government said it didn't need.
Today, the Albanese government is announcing the most significant reform to Australia's defence estate in our nation's history. Defence, as one of the largest owners of property in the country, had a very significant estate, much of which was not being used.
Now, of course, once the government pays to shift defence people to cheaper properties and fix things up for sale, the total saving is down to $1.8 billion, which the government claims will all go to defence, which is in fact so badly strapped for cash that we're short of soldiers, ammunition and ships ready for sea. Now, like I said, part of the reason the government is getting desperate is the government spending too much. And as a result, we are in for a belting, because this is the highest spending government in 40 years outside the pandemic crisis. And it's all thanks to Albonomics. Never mind the inflation, never mind the interest rates going up, have another handout. That's how it works. But the bill for all that is coming. In fact, you're paying it already. And that is why so many economists and business leaders, they're screaming for a cut in Chalmers' mega spending. But Albonomics, it'll keep going, because it really is just another Ponzi scheme. And like all Ponzi schemes, the money does run out.